Welcome to the New Retirement Forum. My name is Andrew. I wanted to share something that I found on the internet. It's an article on Forbes.com. It's entitled, "These 6 Essential Items Belong on Your Retirement Planning Checklist." And it's by someone named Joel Johnson. And I'll put a link to the article in the description. But I just wanted to briefly go over this because these articles are they're good, but everybody is in such a different place when it comes to this that it's very difficult to talk about. You could do 5-hour videos on each of these 6 items if you want to adequately address everyone's needs and situation. So let me go through this quickly with you, and then what you should always do is sit down with someone that knows what they're talking about. Your accountant, your attorney, if you have an estate planning attorney, but not just anybody. You really need to talk to someone who knows what they're talking about. So the first item they discuss is something called create a financial game plan. Now, I retired a few years ago, was in the middle of the pandemic, and there really was no time to develop a game plan, but I already basically had one. I was going to retire in another year or two anyway, so I was in pretty good shape that way. I kind of already knew what I was going to do. But create a financial game plan. In other words, where are you going to live? Are you going to stay in your house? Are you going to move to a smaller place, downsize? What are your sources of income going to be? What are your expenses going to be? In other words, set a budget, something that you probably should have been doing all along anyway, but a lot of people don't for whatever reason. So create a financial game plan. Number 2, plan for health care and long-term care costs. All right, so most everybody in retirement is going to be, if they retire at the right age, is going to be covered by Medicare. Medicare consists of Part A, which is your hospitalization, more or less. Part B, which are your doctor visits. Now, as long as you're still working and are covered by your employer's health plan, you don't take Part B. You'll wait until you're totally retired and out of your employer's health plan. Part C is what's called Medicare Advantage, which is kind of like Part B, only you are dealing with a private insurer rather than the government. In other words, the government approves certain private insurance companies to offer this Part B coverage, and it really varies greatly from company to company. I'm not saying you shouldn't take it, but I'm saying that you should be real careful if you do. So Part A, hospitalization. Part B, doctor visits, right? More or less. And now, should you have a supplemental plan in addition to that? Well, Medicare pays 80% of what they call reasonable expenditures. So that means you would be on the hook for the other 20%. And that's what your supplemental plan would pay for. But again, it's something you need to be very careful with, because if Medicare doesn't approve a procedure, in other words, they don't pay any of it, well, your insurance company on your supplement, they're not going to pick up any of it either. So your insurance will only pick up what Medicare doesn't pick up out of that 20%. I hope I'm not being too confusing there. And then Part D is your drugs. Right? Now, again, some people might get this kind of coverage integrated with their employer. Other people are totally on the hook for it. The Medicare Part A is free. Part B, they deduct the premiums from your Social Security benefits. I think the normal amount is around $175 a month right now. So, although some people do pay more than that. The other part of healthcare is long-term care. What happens if you need to go into a nursing home? Again, that's another whole subject in and of itself. You can buy insurance for that, although a lot of people won't because it's terribly expensive unless you bought it when you were younger. So I'll defer on that because that's another whole topic in and of itself. If you are of a right income and asset situation, you may qualify for Medicaid, in which case your long-term care costs would be covered. But if you're like a lot of people, they're not. And this is the kind of thing that could impoverish you if you don't do some planning. There used to be a lot more things that you could do with this. A lot of those loopholes have been closed. I'm no longer up to date on a lot of that, but it's something you should talk to an attorney about. An attorney that specializes in elder care, not someone who's doing a real estate closing today and he's bailing somebody out of jail tomorrow. Right? This is a real specialty. You really need to talk to someone who knows what they're doing with this. Number 3, know when to claim Social Security benefits. Well, we talked about the Medicare aspect of it, right? But what about the actual retirement benefit, the cash payments that you'll receive? You know, you can start to receive them at 62. You can get them younger if you're the spouse of someone who was getting them and is deceased and all of that. But, you know, normally you can start to get them at 62 up to age 70, but the amounts will vary. Now, let me say something about this. Whether you take the benefit at 62 or at 70, now naturally the monthly amounts will be much greater the longer you wait. So if you take them at 62, let's say they could be $1,000 a month, and at 70 they could be $2,000 or $3,000 a month. Right? So why doesn't everybody wait until 70? Well, some people retire younger than others and they need the money. That's one thing. But over your life expectancy, over your lifespan, in terms of total dollars, you will receive almost the same amount if you took it at 62 or you took it at 70. Right? Again, the monthly amounts will be different. The longer you wait, the bigger your monthly benefit is. But over your life expectancy, if you take the benefits at 70, normal life expectancy is somewhere around 77. So that means they'll have to pay you for 7 years. If you took it at 62 and your life expectancy is 77, that means they had to pay you those benefits over 15 years. Right? But they're going to pay you roughly the same amount over that period of time. As long as you're working and you don't need it, I wouldn't take it. Right? I mean, some people work, but you know, once you reach 70, you should take it regardless. Number 4, create a tax-efficient strategy. Now, again, this is very difficult to talk about because so many people are in so many different situations. But these days, what a lot of these financial gurus are recommending is to do what's called a Roth conversion. In other words, take money out of your retirement plans before you retire, pay the tax on them, and put them into what's called a Roth IRA. Right now, what's the difference between a regular IRA and a Roth, traditional IRA and a Roth IRA? A traditional IRA is tax deductible. So you would get a tax deduction for the money that goes in, and you pay taxes on the money when it comes out. Right? Plain and simple. With a Roth, the money that goes in is not tax deductible. The money that comes out is not taxable. So what the experts recommend is that you should, maybe not with all your money, but you should do maybe a little bit at a time. Take money out of your retirement accounts. Now, 401k, 403b, 457, you would have to take that money and roll it over into an IRA, and then you could take the money from the IRA and put it into the Roth IRA. You would have to pay tax. Now, a lot of people don't have the money to pay the tax. So they pay the tax out of the amount of the rollover, right? But then you're kind of defeating the purpose, because that means some of the rollover will be taxable and some of it won't be. So just keep that in mind. This is a very difficult subject, although it is something that is recommended for people that are in the right situation. Remember that your Social Security benefits can be taxable, right? If your income is below a certain amount, they are not taxable. But if your income exceeds that amount, the benefits are taxable. Now, maybe not entirely taxable, but just know that your Social Security benefits can be taxable. And depending on the state you live, they could be tax-free in that state. So New York, for example, for all its problems, you don't pay any New York State tax on your Social Security benefits. New Jersey is like that also. Connecticut, you do pay tax on it. So again, when you were doing your step one, create a financial game plan, you may want to look at the state you live in and see, maybe if you move somewhere else, if you're in a certain tax situation, that maybe if you just move from, say, Connecticut to New York, you could just move a few miles and you might save some money in tax. Number 5, kind of related to number 4, plan withdrawals from tax-deferred retirement accounts. Now, you know, when you turn a certain age, the age now is 73, you are required, based on your life expectancy, to take money out of your tax-deferred retirement accounts. They're called required minimum distributions. So just keep that in mind, that when you reach a certain age, you're going to be forced to take the money out, even if you don't want to. And number 6, diversify your sources of income. Well, I don't know. How are you going to do that? Some people continue to work, maybe part-time in retirement. Some people might have rental properties. Some people have a pension. Some people have Social Security, naturally. Some people have the 401ks and those other kind of plans. Maybe you're going to get an inheritance. Maybe you're going to sell your house. Maybe you're going to take some of your money that you have in a retirement account and put it in an annuity so that you get payments every month for the rest of your life. All right, so again, this is very difficult to talk about because everybody is in such a different situation. That's why I say that you really need to talk to somebody that knows what they're talking about with this. Right? Keep in mind, I am not giving you financial advice. You should really sit down, use what I'm saying as a guide, as a guideline, read the article, and then sit down with your advisors, your accountant, who should be a CPA. You should really have a CPA as your tax advisor, your attorney. And again, you should have an attorney that specializes in elder law and estate planning. That's a big help. And if you have any investment professionals, stockbrokers, insurance agents, etc., but not always somebody that is trying to sell you a product. That's why I say you go to the accountant and the attorney first, and they can give you advice, and then you talk to the financial professionals and see. Because if you walk into a stockbroker and say, hey, I have $1 million in my 401k, what do I do with it? And he'll tell you exactly what to do with it. Now, if you walk into your insurance guy's office and say, hey, I got $1 million, should I buy an annuity? Oh, he'll absolutely, you should buy two. So just keep that in mind when you're doing this. I'm not saying anybody's dishonest or anything like that, but I mean, people have vested interests in this, and this is money that you worked your whole life for. You want to make sure that you're getting the best advice possible. All right, that's really all I had on this. Have a great day, and I hope to be back to you soon.